Hi, I'm Emma and welcome to In Conversation With, the space where I speak with an amazing woman around your health, wellness and spiritual self. In this episode, I had the absolute pleasure of speaking with Vili Hickey, where she shared her passion for pelvic floor health that came from the traumatic experience of birthing her first child 7 years ago. The journey she had no choice but to take, and all she's learned in the years since. She's a really inspiring human, and what she shares might resonate with many, many women. Your pelvic floor health is not just to do with childbirth. We can have dysfunction for many reasons. And I hope this is a helpful conversation for you. I'm sorry if you're suffering. Please know you do not need to do this alone, and I hope this brings you comfort. You can get in touch with Vili or myself. All our contact details are in the show notes below this video. Enjoy the show. Welcome to this session with Vili Hickey. We are going to be talking about the pelvic floor, your pelvic floor, and mental health, your mental health, and the connection between the two. And Vili and I have met online. We've met in a coaching program, and we began talking because I was really interested in Vili's story, in her work, but also, as you will all experience in a moment, her energy and her passion for what she does, because it's quite something to have gone through and experienced what Vili has experienced, and then to explore and find solutions, and then be courageous enough to want to share that with other women. So I'll share really that Vili is a womb priestess and a pelvic floor rehabilitation specialist. She's also an actress and a celebrity trainer, a mum to two, a wife, a friend. So she wears many hats, like we all do. But what she has is this special interest and ability to help us understand our pelvic floors, the energetics of the pelvic floor, the energetics of the body, and our mental health. So I think I will hand over to Vili now to just start sharing. We're going to have a conversation. This is going to be very conversational. There are people here live with us. So if there are questions, they're going to pop them in the chat, or they're going to come out online and ask them. And if you're watching this on the recording and you have questions for Vili, then we're going to share at the end how you can get in contact with her and have a conversation. Over to you, Vili.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, like Emma said, we met online, but Emma's energy just travels, and I was so drawn to her and her wisdom and knowledge, and I'm so grateful to be able to work with you together now and create this beautiful event workshop for so many women. And like Emma said, I feel very strongly about the pelvic floor because 7 years ago, I delivered my first child, Charlotte, a beautiful girl, but it left me with a category 4 tear and episiotomy, an unconsented episiotomy. And with that, I was left with a full year, over a year of being incontinent, number 1 and 2, with no guidance or help or truly anything. And at that point in my life, I was 30 years old. I was a trainer, and I wasn't able to jump, run, or sneeze, or laugh, or any of these things without wetting myself, number 1 or 2. And all my doctor said at the 6-week checkup, I call it checkup, was he literally said to my husband, she's all stitched up, she's healed up, she's ready to go. Those were his words. And inside I crumbled. I knew I'm not ready to go. I'm not healed up. and he would never answer how many stitches I got or any of that. So with that started a very lonely, a very painful first year of being a mother, of my initiation of being a mother. It also really spiraled our relationship, the relationship I have with my husband. He was very understanding, and he's very loving and very compassionate. But after, you know, a certain amount of months passing by, he wanted to connect with me again, also physically. And I was terrified, and I was in so much pain. So then with that, I needed to find solutions. I am like a 5'1" in human design, so I always try to find new things and educate myself. So I became a prenatal postpartum corrective exercise specialist to fully understand the pelvic floor muscles and health, and then find out about pelvic floor PT. I didn't know, no one shared with me that there's actually physical therapists that are specialized in pelvic floor health. So if that's maybe something you're struggling with, I am sure you can find a pelvic floor physical therapist in your region, in your area. And with that, with understanding the muscles, I was able to heal the muscles, like to be able to hold it together. And it was not with Kegels. And I want to emphasize this because all doctors, and I'm not bashing doctors, they do their best. And, you know, my sisters are doctors and I love them. And, you know, everyone tries their best. But they're sometimes not fully aware of like the full picture of what you need in your recovery. And it's really up to you to find the solutions. So I want to just say that. And so the number one thing that is helpful for your healing when you work with the pelvic floor, and that's why I am so glad that Emma and I are working together, is the breath and breathing. So especially, you know, postpartum, I'm just going to say this as an example. Your diaphragm is so squished up from carrying the child that the number one thing that you will need to do after delivering is to open up your diaphragm, to open up your rib cage. Your rib cage, I said that I shared that with you. My favorite picture of the rib cage function is an umbrella. And we keep forgetting that it's like a 360 opening and closing an umbrella. And so that's the number one thing, like learn how to breathe again. And it's like, that's why, you know, with your work, with the mindfulness, like it all goes hand in hand, because we're so stressed. We breathe up into our shoulders and we forget to breathe down into our ribs.
Yeah.
So
Can I just say, and I'm
yes,
just starting
please,
it,
please.
I
It's a
don't want to ruin
conversation.
your flow because you're flowing so beautifully.
I know.
And I know we're speaking about postpartum as well, but also in my experience of working with clients that don't have children either,
Yes.
our diaphragms, our bodies are so tight, rigid, holding on to tension, restricted, that most of us do shallow breathing, don't know how to breathe. So this is the key as well, isn't it? So yes, especially after you've had, you know, a baby there and your body has been changed. But even for anyone, so even young girls who haven't had children yet, or women of my age or older that haven't had children, all of us are shallow breathing or are tense, stressed, overwhelmed, pressured. So the breath is one of the keys.
Yeah, thank you for emphasizing it. Because also, you know, if you, yes, like you said, like talk to any woman and you say, like sneezing, laughing, like stress, incontinence, almost 90%, like if you look at statistics, almost 90% of women suffer from stress incontinence, and it's just being laughed off, or it's being, you know, oh yeah, I do that too, it's normal. But to really sit down and say, no, there's actually a solution for that. We can work on it. And it doesn't, you don't have to have these symptoms, is so, so important.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so So Vili, with your exploration, so you started with physical therapy. Can you share a little bit about the beginning part of the journey and how far you got with that, and then why you continue to want to go further?
So I actually didn't start with physical
Okay.
therapy. So through like the certification of prenatal postpartum corrective exercise specialist, I then I didn't go to a physical person. I did before I delivered my second child, my son, to help me with the scar tissue. But with my first one, I actually didn't go to a physical therapist. At that time, I used to live in LA, I offered a special kind of workout. It's called EMS, electrical muscle stimulation workouts. And with that technology, you get a secondary contraction while you work out. And with that, in specific exercises I did, and the breathing, and learning to engage my muscles, that's how I healed and fixed, if you want to say it that way, like my pelvic floor muscles. Yeah.
So with the pelvic floor, whether you've given birth or haven't given birth, when it's dysfunctional, when it's not functioning and doing its job properly, which we're not going to go into that in this conversation here. We could do, and we invite questions like that. If we can always host another session about that, actually. With the I mean, we could even talk about the fact that there's 3 diaphragms in the body and the vagus nerve. But it's up to you. Where would you like, what do you think is most important for people to understand, for women to understand about their bodies?
So after I finished the certification, I thought, and I shared that with you, I thought that I would come out with an online program for women to do exercises at home. And what I then realized was that an exercise that might be good for you or for me could be terrible for a third person. It is so individual, and you cannot just, or in my point of view, I cannot just give you an exercise and say, this will heal your pelvic floor dysfunction, this will heal your prolapse, this will heal any of the symptoms you experience, because it is, a full body work. But what I can tell you is 100% breathing and working on your breathing will not be harmful to you. It will benefit in every way. It will benefit with, like you said, the vagus nerve to be more calm and to be able to relax, because in our time, we're so tensed up, and it also goes to the pelvic floor. It goes to our feet. It goes to anything. Like, we're just like ready to go all the time, because we just have so many influences, as you know, as a mindfulness coach. Like, we need to all learn how to be able to relax. And that also goes with the pelvic floor. The more we're able to breathe deeper, the more we're able to relax, the more also relaxed is our pelvic floor. And with that, will also be, we will have a better function in the pelvic floor.
And just as a little teaser, we are going to do a meditation. We are going to offer a meditation to just to help work with the vagus nerve and the pelvic floor and all diaphragms in the body. So we've got the laryngeal diaphragm, as well as the diaphragm that most people know about, and then the third diaphragm, the pelvic floor. So we're going to do that a little bit later on.
Yeah, and if you look at the anatomy, it is mirroring. Like, you can look at pictures and it is the same. It looks the same.
And so tell us more about what your recovery looked like and what that was for you.
Yeah, like I said, it was the first year was a very lonely year, in the sense of I just experienced so much pain on a daily basis. And even after being able to run again and jump and like feeling like myself physically, there was this part where I just had this deep grief and deep sadness, and anger and rage. I never heard of the word like raging mom before, but I was truly feeling that. And it was not only from, being sleep deprived and like having like now this new responsibility of this child, I love her to death. Like, you know, I just want to say that too. It was also very beautiful, but because I was left alone with no guidance and help, I felt also all these, let's say, negative emotions and feelings. And so with that, because again, I always want to find out more, I always want to grow and learn more, I researched womb healings and womb health and the energetics of the pelvic floor. And it was with that work that I found, yeah, this relief for the first time. It was a safe space for me to be able to really give my feelings a space to be felt. You know, I let my wild woman out, I let my grief out, the sadness. I was able to really release it from my womb and from my pelvic floor. And yeah, it came with like inner deep yoni. Like we said, it's a Sanskrit word for your vagina, for your private part, for our pussy, however you want to say it. And I needed to really go deeply inside to release the energetic blocks that I was holding. I had so much scar tissue, but also I had, yeah, these energetic cords that were connected with that traumatizing moment of this unconsented episiotomy. Truly, it was mostly that part that really haunted me in my dreams, like that moment. You know, I don't want to go too much into it, but it was like you have this ring of fire when the child enters into this world, and it was like this moment. It felt like a rubber band, like it was fully stretched, and then suddenly it was opened, but it was my body part. And no one asked me, you know, and no one explained to me what's happening. And I was, yeah, it was truly abusive in this moment. And I needed to give it a space, and I needed to release it. And it was through womb healings and womb clearings and this deep work, energetic work, that I found the relief that I needed and the lightness again in me, you know, and like coming back to who I am and how I want to show up as a mother and as a partner. I was truly pushing away my husband. And before having kids, I never understood why there's this huge statistic of like relationships crumbling in the first year of a baby. And I always thought, oh, it's because, you know, sleep deprivation, new responsibilities, just stress. But there's also this deep part of that we don't give the woman the space to really arrive in her new motherhood journey. We don't give her the space to really grieve what she lost by becoming a mother. And there's a lot of grieving, there's a lot of gaining and love and like all these beautiful things, but there's also this dark shadow of grief, sadness, fear, anger, worries, you know, like, yeah. And with womb healings and giving this safe space to women, I was able to heal that part. Yeah. And now I offer that to women.
And this, you know, this space within our body. So if anyone's watching this and isn't familiar with the energetics of the body, we could perhaps do another session on that. But the body is layered. The body has layers of energy. One of the ways that I would speak about it is the myokoshas, the layers of the physical body and the energetic body and the thought body. And we know that our body holds on to experiences. Every thought, every experience we have, whether it is giving birth, whether it's getting a new job, getting married, having a relationship, every conversation, everything energetically affects our body. We're receiving 1 billion bits of information per second through our senses. And our brains can only process 40 bits of information per second. So our brain, our little reticular activating system, is trying to take all this information that's coming into our bodies. And when you go through a traumatic experience like that, or any other trauma or experience around your sexual organs or the womb space or our bodies, which we all experience, our body holds that experience, and we tighten up, we tense up in response to that. So the fascia has 250,000 neurons in each space. It has memory. The heart has 40,000 neurons. The gut has 100,000 neurons, if I'm remembering right. I might be misremembering. So there is alive and memory and intelligence within the body. And therefore, there's intelligence within the pelvic floor, within the fascial connections of the pelvic floor, with that connection to the vagus nerve, which then increases stress. So the theme of this conversation was also about the mental health aspect. And so how did this experience affect your mental health? And I know you've spoken a little bit about it. And just the no support. This is the thing, isn't it? It's just what happens to our bodies, whatever our experience is. And the fact that a doctor said to you, she's good to go. And as women, we're expected to go through so much in our bodies, in the initiations that we move through at different phases and stages of our life, in many different experiences. And we're just expected to get on with it. It's just naturalized, it's normalized. I mean, I was reading the other day that, the clitoris wasn't mapped until, was it 2006? And I might be wrong in that. I'm saying all these facts that I might be wrong in, but till very recently. And yet money goes into space travel and, apparently putting men on the moon. But we haven't understood or begun to understand the female body. All of or most of the medications are tested on men. Seatbelts tested on men. Everything that, and I'm not bashing men. This is not about men versus women, but it's about the female body that has been rejected and neglected, and it's just part of our experience, when in fact it's not. We don't need to have this pain. We don't need to be carrying around this trauma. There are ways in which we can express and release and heal and live a life that feels really, really valuable to us.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really keen for you to share. So breath being one of them, but maybe one of the other practices that you find really valuable, or something that one of your clients or somebody on one of your courses has said to you, I didn't even think that would be valuable. Because when I first started doing ceremony, for example, I was really drawn to it and I thought it was beautiful, and I was really interested in the process of a ceremony and the acknowledgement of an experience. But I remember my first fire ceremony, and I drove home from that, and I cannot put it into words, the difference that I felt in terms of burning something that I was wanting to release, that I had been carrying with me, and creating space for something new to come in. So I don't know if there's something that you would like to share around that.
Yeah, I just want to connect to what you said. Like, we're not bashing, the males. We are truly just bringing awareness of what's happening. And there's also a lot of trauma in the male lines, for males in general. But today we're focusing on pelvic floor health.
And we should say that men do have pelvic floors as well.
Yes.
However, because of the female anatomy, it's much more impactful to our health and our well-being.
Yeah. And it starts, that's probably another conversation, but it starts with like acknowledging our cycle, that our hormonal changes in the month, all these things, but that's probably for another topic.
Well, and this is it. Even the birth control pill was not tested ever on women because of their cycles, their hormonal cycles, and to test a medication, that's why medications aren't tested on women, because it needs to be a stable hormone level. So
yeah.
Yeah.
My toes are crunching just by like hearing it. It's truly insane if you think about it. But again, I want to focus on like tangible things that
Yes.
you
And what can we
do at
do?
home.
Yes.
And so practices and some things I teach are, and I brought it just for viewing, like a yoni egg. It's a little bright. So this is something I like to work with personally. And it helps with strengthening the pelvic floor muscles. It can also be this beautiful ritual. It can be different crystals, like this one is rose quartz, but you can have a black obsidian that really draws out negative energy. So there are different tools that you can order online. Just always make sure that the quality of the crystal is really good, and that the string is attached right, and all these things. Another thing I like to do is yoni steaming. That can really be a beautiful, again, beautiful ritual to help you to relax the pelvic floor and to just, it is truly like, you know, when you get a facial and you get that steam and you just feel like, just like that moment already feels like, yeah, like a, I don't know, like this beauty treatment.
Yeah.
This can be the same experience and feeling for your yoni.
Yeah.
So I like.
And I always say as well, you know, because this took me a long time to like come to terms with as well, because I didn't grow up with that, you know, ability to talk about this. In fact, if I did want to talk about it, other people didn't want to talk about it. But we would perhaps treat ourselves to a massage, or we wash our face and tend to our face. We make sure our hair is nice, or don't look at how my hair looks today. But anyway, but we take care of other parts of our body. We might go for a reflexology treatment and have our feet worked on and massaged. And yet, the most sacred part of the female body is mostly ignored and misunderstood, even by us, even by the owners. So, one of the things that I think that you do so beautifully is help women reconnect, or maybe for the first time, connect to their bodies. And can you speak to, so I'd love to know more about the yoni eggs and the steaming, because that's a way to connect to your body.
Mhm.
In your opinion, in your experience, how does this help when we connect to our bodies in a way that feels sacred and special? So it's not about anyone else, it's
Mhm.
about us and the health and the well-being of our body. And even accepting and maybe beginning to love our body, because there can also be a huge rejection of the feminine form. I'm sure most of us have experienced or continue to experience, don't want to look in the mirror, I don't like parts of my body, don't want to look at myself naked. How does this connect as well?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I also didn't grow up with, you know, normalizing like this kind of practices. It came over the year because I felt like I wanted to connect with my feminine. I grew up in Austria, as you could maybe hear, my accent is German, and in a very masculine kind of environment, like the way just the family structure is, and just the whole surrounding. So it didn't come naturally to me to dive into the divine feminine. I didn't even know what that meant when I first started. And so what it did to me by connecting with my body parts, especially also my breasts. Honestly, we hold so much judgment for our breasts. I know today it's about the pelvic floor, but the heart, you know, pelvic floor connection, which is our breasts, I held so much judgment, like the way they looked, felt. I was never fully accepting them until I practiced sacred breast massages and really connected with my breasts. And it was the same with my yoni. I never like looked in the mirror. I never really took a mirror and looked at it. It was like something that's just, you know, it was like a scary thought that suddenly my husband knew my body better than I do because I never really looked at it. So then I was, you know, practicing just looking at it and not judging it. And it took me a long time, a very long time. because I had this image of, you know, how it's supposed to look, and to really come to terms, like, this is my body, this is how it looks, and every yoni looks different. Like sometimes, you know, the outer lips are bigger, sometimes the inner lips are bigger, and it's just different shapes and sizes and smells and colors. And it took me a long time to fully accept it. That's it. That's how it looks, and it's beautiful, and it's mine, and it's mine to love on. You know, it's not just something for my husband. And like that change in me changed so much, and it also changed so much of the dynamic of my husband and I, because suddenly it was not just like a thing you do in marriage. It was suddenly something I wanted to feel pleasure. I wanted to feel something good for me, and I was able to communicate it also better with him, and to also understand that the female energy runs up. So when men say to us, "You're so much in your head," it is literally because our energy is rising, and the male energy is rising down. So they're ready to go. Our energy rises up. So we need to slowly bring them back down. And by connecting with yourself, by touching your own body without any agenda or any shaming or guilt, or just by just observing, just by putting a hand and just by feeling your own body, you truly open this. First of all, you open this creative portal, because this is where your creativity lies. Like you open this creative portal, but also it's truly such a self-love, like an act of self-love. And it's just, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you just suddenly, you feel whole again. You know, you feel like this is all yours. You know, it's not just maybe your cute eyes or cute ears that you like. Suddenly you get one with your whole body, and it's so powerful because no one can take that away from you.
So beautifully said. And I know from my experience working as a sports therapist, as a rehab specialist, and then as a kinesiologist, my one of the things I started inquiring about in my early 20s was, why do some of my patients heal much quicker than others from some sort of strain or tear or injury? It was really interesting to me how I'm going through the same protocol, the healing protocol, rehabilitation exercises, whatever it was. And some would heal really quickly, and some just weren't healing at all, actually. In fact, they were probably getting worse, and they were getting secondary pain and referred pain and other structural issues and postural issues. And this part of connecting to your body and accepting and loving your body and allowing, I mean, healing isn't linear. Healing is very layered anyway. There isn't only one way. As you mentioned earlier, there isn't one way to heal or help the body to become more healthful. But this part of just looking at the physical and treating the physical or dismissing the physical, one or the other, is only a small part of health and healing. And this is what I loved about how you work with women, is that you work on the functional level, and you work on the emotional level, and you work on the spiritual and soul level, on the level of each individual client that you work with. And I think for me, that's somebody with high integrity, and so important to be able to do that is really special. And that's where the mental health connection comes in. So not only when we have pelvic floor dysfunction that is dismissed often or misunderstood, because there's only recently in the last, I would say 10, 15 years been pelvic floor physical therapy specialists. It wasn't even a speciality a few years ago. So when we can work on the physical level, but then also understand the energetic level, and all of a sudden, things in your life that you didn't even think were connected, you recognize are connected. Perhaps you start to be able to speak more clearly. Your boundaries are more effective because you're breathing more effectively, because you take people through so many different breathwork techniques that help them to reconnect to their breath, to slow down, to allow their creative energy to flow, to allow the fascia to heal. Like I said, this fascia is alive. The fascia, in fact, is one of the strongest parts of the body. And when it goes into trauma, when it tenses up, it stays in that state unless we allow it and speak to it and gently allow it to relax and respond. The same as with the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor is meant to hold our uterus, if we have one, our uterus in place, the bladder in place, the rectum, the bottom of the rectum in place. And then it's meant to release and soften so that we can have a bowel movement and go to the toilet. But with dysfunction, that doesn't happen. So we might get digestive issues, which we know causes mental health issues, because if our digestion isn't effective, then we're not absorbing the nutrients we need, or perhaps there's too quicker a transit through the body. So I just think you're incredibly courageous for speaking about this, and also being the sort of person, having the sort of mind that's like, I want to find a solution. If there's not a solution being offered to me, I'm going to go out and find it for myself. And like you mentioned, and I think you say it on your website as well, that was a really lonely journey. So would you say that one of the things you're most keen on is taking away the loneliness of healing for women and creating more awareness in your work and in your courses?
Yeah. I love to be like this container, this space, where I get to hold another woman and telling her, first of all, she's not alone. She, there is help. And if it's not me, I'm gonna refer them to someone who can help her. And just be this guidance, and yeah. Just really touched like by your words, also by reflecting back to, the work I do, because I truly am very passionate about it. And I am very just grateful that now I came to a place where I'm able now to help other women through my trial and error, through my research and hours of studying and connecting with other women and having these uncomfortable conversations, because I realize that not everyone has maybe is not on the journey yet, like to openly speak about it the way I do. And that also goes, not only birthing trauma. Unfortunately, so many of my clients experience childhood sexual abuse in general, just where their no was not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And always makes me so emotional, because it is truly so sad. But also I always know that the clients, the women I work with that went through that trauma, they come out so much stronger. They come out like, maybe in the past I wasn't able to stand up for myself, but now I do it triple. Now I'm up here on this pedestal. Now I know my worth. Now I know I say my words so loud and clearly that everyone can hear it. And just by able to see this transformation and to see this journey in women and really stepping up, and like suddenly they're like, this is who I am. And I know my worth. I know I'm enough. I know I'm worthy of love and all the things, abundance that I want in my life. And by truly like to be able to help them, elevate them, be that loving container and mirror to them so they can see their own self-worth. It's truly, it doesn't feel like work to me. I truly love it so much. It's incredible. It is incredible.
Okay. So I'm thinking of, and I've popped in the chat if anyone wants to, but I'm just going to speak to this in a minute, but I've just popped, if anyone wants to find out more about you, for those that are here live, you can just click on that. And we said that by the end of this session, that anyone here or watching this on the replay would have some really practical tools to go away with. So breath work is one, and I'm going to guide people through a breath practice and a gentle meditation practice in a moment. But the two others, if we can just go back to those a little bit, the egg and the steaming herbs. Can you just give us, so if someone's interested in working in that way, can you just share how they might do that, what that entails?
Yes.
If
Yeah.
that's
Yes,
an
and
appropriate question to ask. Okay, yes. I know it's more than that, but so
yeah,
the breath work is the biggest thing. That is, which is, so you can go and see a pelvic health specialist, which is somebody that you have and you work with, don't you? So when you work with women, you bring in a pelvic health physio, a physical therapist. So there's the physical
I
work,
can,
and
yeah,
breath work comes in. Go on.
I can refer them out because it, in my opinion, you always need to be physically there for someone to see, your anatomy. And to just go back to like the practical practices, it's almost like, I can tell you, do a YouTube yoga class or go in at like a one-on-one yoga class. So I kind of like, yes, I can tell you, take the herbs, steam them like a tea, and then put them in a bowl, like a glass bowl or like a bowl that holds the warmth. And then you kneel over it with a blanket wrapped around you or a long skirt so it traps the heat. Obviously, please be careful so you're not getting burnt. There are some yoni steaming chairs that you can get on Etsy if you want. You can, if you have children, you can use, the little potties, like the potties. You can take the potty thing out and put the bowl under. You can kneel over that. You can use some yoga pillows on the side to make it more comfortable. But then again, there is like this much deeper layer in that kind of ritual where you sing to the herbs, where you put an intention to the herbs, where you, it's just like a deeper layer of that practice. But again, of course, you can, use herbs. I love this blend from my mentor. It's from, I don't know if you can see, Sacred Lotus. If you're interested, I can send you the link to that. It's just like this beautiful herb blend of red raspberry leaf, yuva ursi, damanian, calendula flowers, lavender, marshmallow root, nettles, and rose petals. It smells amazing, and it's all these beautiful herbs that help you for your yoni. And then again, the same with yoni egg practices. I don't know how to describe it now, like to not sound like, so yes, you can just use it, and like practices, or again, you can work with someone and it's this beautiful ritual where you at first slowly open up your yoni and where you let the yoni decide when it's ready to be inserted.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is a big, because it's crystal. So
yeah.
whether you believe in the healing properties of crystal or not, the fact that it's inside the vagina, where potentially, so we're not going, again, we said we weren't going to go into the anatomy of the pelvic floor, but it's going to be able to massage and help to heal the tension along with breath work, because you can buy different types of balls as well that are supposed to help the pelvic floor. But this, with the yoni egg, it will also help relax and soothe. So it can strengthen and reactivate and help to re-innovate and get the muscles functioning well again in the right order, as well as soothe and soften. And then in my understanding, and tell me if I'm incorrect, the herbs So as you would drink a tea, all herbs have specific properties, are very soothing for the muscles and the tissues, the fascia and the connection. So when we use the steam, as you would use a steam if you had a cold and you'd want to steam with certain herbs, so it would go into the lungs and soothe the lungs, the alveoli, this will do the same for the muscles around the rectum and around the vagina and all around the pelvic floor, which can be really tight and tense and painful and cause then pain up the spine, headaches, shoulder pain, pain in the feet, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and with that, there are some precautions that you have to do before. Like if you have like what do you call this called? Like a piercing, like is that called? Yeah, like an intimate piercing. Like you have to take this out before because the metal can, take on the heat and like the way it is in the sauna, when you have a necklace on, it can burn your skin. Or you cannot steam when you're pregnant, because what it does, it's like it increases the blood flow to that body part, the same way how when you go in a sauna, you start sweating, you start increasing the blood flow, it starts pumping more, and we don't want that heat when we're pregnant. In some studies, you don't steam while you are on your moon blood, while you're bleeding. In others, it can be beneficial. It is really such a, again, individual process. But it is recommended after, when you're done with the bleed, because what it does, again, it creates this blood flow, and it can help like to shed the rest of the uterine lining out.
Beautiful. So it helps with the health of the uterus. If you have a uterus, it helps with the health of the uterus. If you don't have a uterus anymore, then it helps with the blood flow, with the tone of the muscle, the fascia, and the connection. But I would recommend, as you've just said, so recommend getting in touch with a specialist, with yourself. And I'm just going to share the screen actually before we go into the meditation. I'm going to share the screen. Here we go. This is the link I put in the chat, but Vili has a course coming up, and if you are called to work with her in a program, in a container with other women, this might be the most beautiful space for you to be, because she takes you through all the rituals, the anatomy, you work with a pelvic floor specialist, but you help women to reconnect to their own bodies, to their mental health, so that they might heal any dysfunction. And it's not just through the pelvic floor, but through the breathing, through the energy body. So this is a really beautiful opportunity to work with Vili and other women. It's all online, so you could be wherever you are in the world, and you can do these practices in your own home, and Vili will guide you through them. And I believe you meet every week online, and there's beautiful practices and a membership portal with meditations and rituals. So you can just, there she is dancing, having a beautiful time, reconnecting to her body. And also, if anyone is not drawn to group work, I know you do one-on-one work as well, don't you? So that is also a possibility, because sometimes, depending on what somebody is coming with, that might feel a safer option, a more appropriate option for them than group work. So
thank you, Emma. And I just wanted to say, because I was focusing so much on postpartum and all these things, but also menopausal, perimenopausal, it just changes like our libido. It changes the wetness, the moistness in our yoni. And like these practices can also help with like, reconnecting now with the new phase, with the new journey, with the new season that someone is in. It's just not one season, it's like every season, like how it is in nature, every season changes, and it brings up new things and new layers, and we can re-explore our body over and over and over and over again, and it never stops, and it will always change, and there is no timeline like this is that, like maybe someone thinks, oh, it's already too late for me, or I'm already past that, and there is no ending. Like it can always, it's an ongoing thing. So
yeah, and I think really important for women in perimenopause, which just so in case people don't know, women don't know, starts potentially in the 30s. It does start in the 30s, and menopause can be a really empowering time for women. But again, yes, there's more conversations about it now, but there isn't a lot of understanding about it. So the more that you can empower yourself, the more that you can feel comfortable and confident in your life to make the choices that feel right for you, whatever they are. And this is where it begins.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vili. I want to just read a comment that's come through in the chat, and it says, "Thank you so much for sharing. There are no words to convey how aghast I am. I'm profoundly sorry that you experienced even any of that, let alone all that horror. It also angers me at a very deep core level on your behalf and for all other females. I want to embrace you even though we don't know each other, and I embrace you with my heart."
Thank you. Makes me cry. Thank you.
Powerful when women understand each other and support each other. And that's what you do so beautifully. You hold such loving space for women to address whatever they are addressing, because we're all coming, like you said, with different experiences. And yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for, this beautiful comment, because it starts with you, but it ripples out to everyone.
So thank you very much, Vili, for sharing all of your wisdom and just sharing your story. I know that in sharing your story, that you're going to help so many other women. So now it's your turn to receive, and I'm going to take us through a guided meditation, because breathwork and meditation is one of the most beautiful ways to soothe your nervous system, to soften the body and the mind, to allow the body to access the ability to heal. We can give our bodies everything by accessing this softening and slowing down. And sometimes it doesn't feel too easy to slow down when our lives are really busy and we're always on the go, and we might be in pain or uncomfortable. So if you can gift yourself 5 or 10 minutes a day to begin to reconnect to your body through a guided practice, this is one of the ways that we suggest that you can help to heal your pelvic floor, heal the emotions that are present in the body, allow emotions to flow, to be released, so that you can be in the present moment. So wherever you are receiving this practice, take care of yourself. I'm going to guide you through a connection to the breath and to the body. We're going to activate the vagus nerve, a very important part in your mental health, in your body, in your physiological health. So you might like to lie down, or maybe you're sat in a comfy chair, leaning back. Perhaps your feet are on the ground, your back is supported. Maybe you place your hands over your body somewhere, perhaps over your womb space, maybe over your heart space. Or maybe the hands rest by the side of your body, palms facing up, receptive. Can you receive this space, this moment to rest? And just begin by noticing the earth underneath your body. The sense of solidity, of being held. So often we are resisting and moving forward so fast that our bodies are tense and ready for action. So can you just notice the sense of the ground beneath you? And even imagine that gravity is holding you. That gravity is drawing any tension or tightness away from the bones and the muscles and the tissues. That the body can truly relax and let go. That you are held. And then can you notice the sense of air at the nostrils? The gentle movement of the breath in and out. Perhaps noticing the air at the back of the throat. The gentle whisper as the movement of air moves through the throat and into the lungs. You soften the belly to receive the breath. Just notice the gentle movement of the belly. And if there's any tension or tightness, just invite a softening. Drawing the air down, breathing into the belly. Belly receiving the breath. And then letting go. Just notice the movement of the breath. And follow the breath all the way in, softening the belly and the hips and the lower back. And on the exhale, a gentle drawing in as the breath leaves the body. Just allowing the breath to flow. Noticing the movement of the body with the breath. And the sensations of the breath at the back of the throat, into the belly. And then you might notice the sensation of breath at the rib cage. And invite a sense of expansion on the breath in. And a sense of softening on the breath out. Breath gently flowing into your body and out of the body, into the space around you. You might bring an awareness to the space around your body. This ocean of air moving around you. The ocean of air moving in and out of the body. And then we'll bring in a gentle Brahmari or bee breath, a humming sound. On your next breath out, a gentle hum. In and out. Gentle hum on the breath out. Feeling the hum resonate through your whole body. Notice how the hum relaxes through the back of the throat. Feel the back of the head in contact with the ground or the back of the chair. Or bring awareness to the space behind the head. And allow the humming breath to be let go. Come back to your natural rhythm and pace. Bring your awareness to the forehead, the skin across the head. Awareness to the lips and inside the mouth, the right cheek and the left cheek, and the tip of the tongue, and the root of the tongue, throat, chest. Notice the space of your heart and breath moving in and out of the heart space. The body softening with each exhale. The body vibrating with the sound of your breath. Bringing an awareness down to the sacrum and the base of the spine. The whole bowl of the pelvis. The pubic bone. Breathing into this space. The body softening. Letting go. You're simply bringing your awareness to your breath and the softening of the body, the softening of the mind, and the whole body is resting here. Resting here and breathing. Resting in stillness. And in the stillness, there's a gentle movement. The vibration of your breath. And you might choose to imagine a gentle rose-colored light at the base of your spine. And as you breathe in, this rose-colored light flows to the throat, through the heart space. And as you breathe out, this rose-colored light flows down. Rose-colored light, gently flowing from the base of the spine to the throat, from the throat to the base of the spine. And at the base of the spine, it now rests. And as you breathe, the light expands. weaving its way through the pelvis, through all the tiny muscles around the sacrum, around the hips, body softening, rose-colored light moving. Allow this light to travel down both legs to the soles of the feet. Notice sensations at the soles of the feet. Light draws up. Rose-colored light at the heart space. Whole body breathing. The whole body resting. With a rose-colored light flowing through your heart space. Bringing this light down both hands to the palms of the hands, to the tips of each finger and the spaces in between. The whole body resonating with rose-colored light. Body soft, resting, letting go. And you might bring the awareness back to the breath again. And if you'd like to bring in a couple of breaths with the humming, start to wake the body up. On your next breath out, you can hum. Body filling with breath. Whole body vibrating with the sound of your breath. Allowing the breath to just gently move in and out. Noticing the rhythm, the pace of your own breath. Bringing your awareness back to the sensation of the ground beneath your body. Your body resting here on the earth. Notice the breath at the belly. The sensations of the movement of breath. The inhale and the exhale. Perhaps there are some gentle movements your body would like to make. Maybe bringing the knees up to the chest and rocking from side to side. Perhaps just gently moving the head, ear to shoulder, ear to the other shoulder. Maybe you swallow, releasing any tension still present in the throat. Perhaps you take in a full breath and a long sigh out. When you're ready, Begin to notice sounds in the distance, perhaps the sound of your own breath. You might be ready to open your eyes. Just look around the room that you're in. Notice the sense of light, any colors or shapes. And if you're here watching this on the recording, thank you for joining us, and all of the information that you need to speak to Vili will be underneath this video. If you have any questions, you can reach out to her, but thank you for watching. That type of practice that we just experienced can be really helpful in just soothing your nervous system and putting your body in a space where it can heal. Thank you for joining us.